That Great Business Show, Ireland's best business podcast.
Welcome to episode 142 of That Great Business Show, where we bring you great tips, insights, and unique business opportunities, all in a perfectly packaged podcast with thanks to donedeal.ie. I am Conal O'Mora in Foiltester. On this episode, we have the maker of the black stuff, but not the black stuff you drink. This is black stuff you rub on your armpit. Keep listening if you want to laugh. And as always, it's an inspirational business. Also, we were recently telling you of business opportunities for Irish companies in France. On this episode, we're looking at what your business could be doing in South Africa and how many Irish businesses are finding affordable talent there. All our tips and insights are brought to you thanks to Donedeal Motors, the only place to look for your new or previously loved car, van or truck. Donedeal.ie.
Donedeal Motors is home to Ireland's largest range of new and premium used cars. That's why you'll find cars from Audi and BMW dealerships on Donedeal. Are you looking for a 7-seater to accommodate your growing family? Maybe you're after a luxury saloon to make a statement. We have the car for you. You'll also find Ireland's largest range of electric cars to help you make the switch. Visit donedeal.ie today to start the search for your next car.
De facto shaving oil, the world's best shaving oil. Made in Mayo, sold worldwide.
All That Great Business Show advertisers are Team GBS approved. Back them.
Our first guest on this episode is an up-and-coming soap star. He may not be a household name just yet, but the name of his product is known across Ireland. John Larkin makes the black stuff, and it's a soap. So boom, boom. And of course, John may not always have wanted to make soap. He was a professional poker player for quite some time, but COVID and a family pushed him to star in soap. He started out on his own and now has 5 full-time employees, plus a handful of other helpers. So it could be the sweet smell of success, and that's enough puns just for now. John Larkin, founder of The Black Stuff, welcome to That Great Business Show.
Thanks very much. Delighted to be here.
Poker player becomes a soap star. Come on, you couldn't make it up.
Yeah, I mean, I've never followed a traditional trajectory when it comes to employment, that's for sure.
And you have a big marketing background. You also were kind of founder of a couple of companies or co-founder.
Yeah, that's right. My background originally when I was a youngster was advertising marketing. That's what I did in college. And then, spent a decade playing poker for a living, much to my mother's dismay. And then after that, I just had a young family and a few other reasons, such as, poker becoming illegal in the States, online poker becoming illegal essentially in the States, made me reconsider my career path. And I joined a friend of mine's startup, helping him out with the marketing. That was probably 10 years ago at this stage. And so I kind of got into technology startups from there. Yeah.
I can see the link immediately. Technology and soap. No. How did you end up with soap?
So, yeah, I was in a few different companies and I went from software to hardware. I was CEO of a company called Mookol. We used to make, or they still are making, wearable technology for cows.
We know, and many people know of Mookol. That is a very successful company.
They're brilliant business. So I was essentially their first employee. So I grew that for 3 years and then I left there to do some stuff on my own and I got involved in more and more e-commerce stuff. With various degrees of success. And when COVID hit, I was kind of in the process of maybe winding down another business that it wasn't as successful as I would have hoped. And I was kind of clearing out my office and I came across a notebook that I had written in previously. And there was a list of kind of 10 or 20 products that I thought were ideal for selling online, e-commerce products. And kind of soap was one of them, soap for men. And I remember that I'd spent, a fair amount of time researching into it in the past. And I started looking at it again and I thought, gosh, and the reasons it was at the top of the list are, it's small, it's easy to ship, it's consumable, so you use it, you buy more. There's lots of variations, lots of different scents, and it also leads on to lots of complementary products. So, for example, we sell deodorant as well. but that's infinite, right? And the market is huge. So there were lots of reasons why it was a good potential product. And so I started researching again, as I sometimes am prone to do. And I had to just stop myself and say, no, you're going down the same rabbit hole again of overthinking. Why don't you just, Google it, find some factories that make soap and order some samples and start actually taking action. And credit to Emmett Savage of Moocall, who's the CEO of Moocall. He taught me in my career that, taking action now immediately is a really great thing. So I definitely learned that from him. So I decided, well, let's do it. So I started trying to find factories because I never thought in a million years that I would make it myself, right? That was never part of my idea. I'm not a maker. I'm not a crafty type person. So I contacted a few different factories and arranged samples. But of course, COVID, nothing was happening. Now, I'm also the type of person who, when they get into something, they go 110%. I don't do things by halves. So while I was waiting on this, I started kind of doing my research, started Googling and watching YouTube videos. And I kind of came across these kind of series of videos teaching people how to make soap. And I thought, oh, well, actually, what better way to, learn about the product than actually try and make it. So I bought a whole load of supplies on Amazon and they arrived, 2 days later, and I started making soap in my kitchen.
And that is the beginning of the future Unilever.
Well, maybe. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
But come on, it's not that easy. There are, as you correctly say, and rightly say, 1 million makers of soaps out there. Surely you just said you're just another one. You did have this e-commerce background. And what did you learn? Some different way of selling? How were you going to crack the market? Anybody listening wants to know how to crack a market.
Yeah, so my thought process initially was, well, you know what? Let's just go back a step. By the time the samples finally arrived from the factories in Turkey and wherever else I'd ordered from, the soap that I'd been making myself in my house, and by the way, when I say making, I was literally making it all day, every day. My wife thought I'd gone mad. Like, why am I making all this soap? What am I going to do?
I think the word is madder.
Yeah, madder, definitely, yeah. So when it arrived, the stuff I'd been making was as good, and I just decided to go all in and make it myself, right? But I'd been thinking about the brand and, how to sell. And initially I thought, well, maybe we can do an Irish thing with it, right? So we can position it as an Irish product and you know what, we'll sell it in America. That way, if it doesn't work, nobody knows me. That's fine. A little bit less embarrassment. And sure, you know what, they might, the Irish-American diaspora, so big, 30 million people in the States or more. So I thought, yeah, let's try that. So that was the original plan. And throughout my, let's call it 2 months or 3 months of learning and experimenting, I found out at one point that you could make soap from anything. You could make it from beer, you can make it from wine, you can make it from any kind of liquid you can be used in. You can make it from milk. And I thought, oh gosh, I wonder could you make it from Guinness? And I started trying to experiment with Guinness.
Well, why Guinness? And why did that come to your head? Is it because of that Irish diaspora thing? Or?
Yeah, and probably the amount of Guinness we were consuming on the street at the time in COVID.
Okay.
A little bit of a combination. But yeah, it was kind of the Irish thing. I thought, well, if we can make it from Irish ingredients like Guinness, maybe that'll help us position it. And when I made multiple versions, obviously, but it was that soap, and it's called Black Stout in our line, that actually was the linchpin in me actually committing to this. It was the one time where I showered with it and I thought, gosh, this is actually amazing. I love it. And I'd never had that thought before that maybe I could make it myself.
I'm smelling it. It actually smells lovely.
Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah, it's kind of a black pepper and cedarwood and fir and clove.
Definitely male.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the one thing which I was absolutely intrigued by when I first met with you, which is only a few days ago, is that Guinness has no hand act or part in this, yet you own the blackstuff.com name.
That day in the shower, I was like, oh gosh, I came up with the idea. I thought, maybe I wonder, could you call it the Black Stuff? And, jumped out of the shower, ran down to the computer, started doing my research. And, it turned out that my hunch was correct, that Guinness actually never used the term the Black Stuff. It's actually only ever been a colloquialism. I think they used it once in an ad, right? The home of the black stuff, I think they say. But they never actually protected it. It's not a trademarked word or sentence. So I thought, well, let's go for it. And so now I own the trademark for it.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
Because as you probably know, Lord Guinness once upon a time was either the richest man in the world. He certainly was the richest man in Europe. So maybe you're heading that direction now.
Well, I have a long way to
go. So what was next? Oh, so you find out that you can become the Black Stuff, and then the problem still remains. There are soap vendors, soap makers. You said it yourself. Making soap is not that difficult. I think that's what you said anyway.
Yeah.
So how do you crack it? How do you sell it? What are you doing to get? You've told me now that you have 5 people working for you. They have to be paid for, so you're doing something.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing brilliant. Like I couldn't imagine us being where we're at today 2 years ago when I started in my house. So initially I started just making this in my kitchen. And I thought, I found a 3PL, which is a third-party warehouse partner in the States, who would deal with me. And I came up with 6 different scents originally, and I got my packaging made and my soap made. And initially I had 100 of each, 100 bars of soap of each, and I shipped it off to the States. And yeah, you're right. Where do you go from there, right? So, I'm pretty good at setting up websites and stuff like that from all the other e-commerce stuff I've done. So I created a website and then just straight away started trying to advertise in the US. And I'd say the first day I started my ad campaign, I'm looking in hindsight, my ads were terrible. They're way better now. But this guy contacted me and he said, "Oh, I'm coming to Ireland, actually. Can I collect from you?" And I thought, gosh, that sounds good. And I said, yeah, no problem. And a week later, he turned up and I met him in town. I bought him a pint and he bought a whole load of soap for me, right? And when he went back to the States, it turns out that he was like a soap enthusiast. He was in all these Facebook groups with...
I love these guys.
Yeah, with thousands of other soap connoisseurs, let's say, which I had no idea existed. And he invited me to join them. And that was kind of what kickstarted it. All of a sudden, he posted photos of the soap and goes, "I bought this in Ireland, it's available in America." And they were mainly American in the group. And then they all started buying it to try it out. And the feedback from them was incredible, which I did not believe possible because, I was just making this myself. But, they were saying, "This is the best soap I've ever tried. It's amazing. You got to try it. It smells so natural," so on and so forth. That one chance encounter, me buying him a pint in Temple Bar, and he went back with a whole load of soap for his American friends in the group. Wasn't a member at the time, but he had posted, "I'm buying this soap, does anyone want some?" And so he brought back a whole load of it and shipped it to his friends. And that was kind of, I guess, the push start that I needed just to get the ball rolling a little bit. And, it got me my first 100 customers, and then it kind of just grew from there.
But it still is a problem that there are 1,000, 1,000,000. I don't know how many soaps are there in the world. I mean,
lots.
Infinite. Exactly. Yeah. You're still out there. You've got your brand. Cool. Very cool. You got a nice smell. But if you're trying to really grow, you're into I was going to use a wrong name there, but you're into a niche market there. You must have a much bigger market than that now. And how are you getting that? How are you getting them?
Yeah. So I spent the first 6 months just selling in the States, with no confidence. And then as I started to get more and more feedback from these people and other customers, our ads were starting to work. We were getting, reviews from the existing customers and so on. I kind of grew confidence in the product. We expanded the line. We added more soaps. In the background, I was working on a natural deodorant, and that took, the guts of a year to perfect. And then I decided I'm just going to try and launch this in Ireland as well. And initially when I was selling it, it was like, trying to play on the Irishness, right? And I thought, well, that's not going to fly here because nobody's going to buy it because, we use Irish rainwater in our Irish mountain rain soap. That's kind of a little bit inconsequential. So I just focused on the pure qualities of the product. But one thing I did do different was I just decided at the start that I was going to document my journey. So I started recording videos of myself making the product on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and all that type of stuff. So I've done that from the get-go, literally from before I launched. I've been recording videos of myself. There's even a video of me going, I think I'm going to make soap, and this is why I'm choosing soap. So there's an authenticity to the brand that you don't see with other brands potentially. And, there's a lot of affinity of my customers towards me as a person because they see me interacting, and sometimes I live stream us making soap, and we do all sorts of things like that that helps build up that kind of relationship between customer and brand.
One of the reasons that you go into business is the obvious reason is to make some money. But one of the things that they tell you to do is to make sure that there is a big barrier to entry. I'm holding your soap now. That must be the lowest barrier of entry item ever. I mean, it's a soap. Why did you choose something so easy? I mean, you said you had 20, 30, 40, 60 other items that you could have chosen and that might have been more difficult to replicate.
You'd be surprised. There's low barrier to entry for a factory-made soap. I would say there's a very high barrier to entry making handmade soap at scale, which is what we're now doing.
How much is a bar of that?
We're selling that for $6.95 or $7.95, depending on the soap.
Okay, so that's a kind of a gift to dad type of soap. That's not your Lidl, Aldi or Tesco?
No, definitely not.
No. Okay.
And common feedback we get from people before they become customers is, why would I spend €7 on a bar of soap I can buy for €1 in Aldi? Mm-hmm. And the response is, well, if you want the soap from Aldi, buy it. But if you want high quality completely natural, handmade product, then you have to pay for it. Yeah, so it's challenging I believe, to replicate the business model. But there's a few different things at work, right? One is our recipe. That's
the secret sauce.
The secret sauce. That's obviously...
Who knows that?
Well, me and my employees.
The employees do. So you have to shoot them or something.
Yeah, exactly. You get them to sign NDAs and all that stuff. But so the recipes are unique to us. Now, the essential oil mixes, which is what we use to create the scents, are all invented by me. Because not only did I decide I was going to make make soap, I also decided I was going to invent all the scents and started buying essential oils and blending them, mixing them, trying to come up with my own scent profiles because I'm a little bit crazy. But in terms of barrier to entry, this year we'll probably make somewhere around 500,000 bars of soap.
Get away.
Handmade.
Did you just see my jaw drop?
54 soaps at a time. Yeah. So I would challenge your perception.
That's changed my perception completely.
Yeah.
I had no idea that it was that big now.
Yeah.
That is fabulous.
Yeah.
So we better mention Parcel Planet because they are part of the process now. That's how I met with you, is through Parcel Planet Mark Green, because they do your fulfillment now. Why?
Yeah, so we started out outsourcing our fulfillment in the States, right? And that was great to begin with, and then we ended up having terrible problem with them and ended up switching to someone else. In Ireland, when I launched, and Ireland took off, is way bigger than the US market for us at the moment, right? Ireland actually, when it took off way, like, the acceleration was way quicker.
And what's the demographic? Young men or?
People like me. I'm in my mid-40s. Because I'm in all my ads, I tend to attract similar people, I guess. So yeah, most of my customers are men in their mid-30s and up.
This is a very clean nation based on 500,000 bars of soap.
Yeah, so we were initially in the States, we were still outsourcing our fulfillment. At home, we were doing it ourselves. And it was just, they were our only two markets. And in the last kind of 6 months, I realized if we're going to scale, part of what was holding us back was us, like literally all day. You'd need to see the amount of bags of stuff we were bringing down to the post office. It was a 2-man job every day, all day, putting soap into boxes and putting labels and writing handwritten notes to our customers and all that type of stuff. And
don't gloss over the handwritten note because that is important as well. That is part of the shtick, is that you actually talk to your customers directly.
Once upon a time, unfortunately, I just can't do that anymore. But I was at the beginning. Now
you used to write them little notes and sign it. Yeah,
and I would, if you bought from me, in certainly the first year and a half, when you bought the second time, I may well recognize your name. And if you bought from me 3 or 4 times, I definitely would have recognized your name and written you a thank you or whatever. Now, we've scaled past that now. Unfortunately, it's not conceivable. But we needed to find a partner. And initially, how I came across Parcel Planet was I was looking at the UK market. So we never shipped into the UK because it was a total pain with Brexit and, going to the post office. Not only was it incredibly expensive to post from here, but it, time consuming. It would take an hour in the post office to post 10 items to the UK. It was crazy. So I came across Parcel Planet with that in mind. So we started with them in their warehouse in Birmingham a month ago, maybe 5 weeks. And now, today, the UK is our largest. In terms of sales every day, we're selling more in the UK than anywhere else in the world.
And how are you managing to get those sales? Again, TikTok and the rest.
Yeah,
and
online advertising.
And do they have that? Again, I won't use any rude words, but is that niche audience? Do they have one of those over there as well?
No, absolutely not. And we haven't kind of marketed to soap connoisseurs since the very beginning. We very much, our customers are anywhere from, a hardworking man who is a mechanic all the way up to, a guy wearing a suit who works at a desk. It's all sorts of men.
You'll take their money.
Yeah.
I have to start asking about the black stuff, though. Is that Guinness has never come after you about this?
No, and thankfully, touch wood. No,
I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That you really have scored there.
Yeah, I think it's a great brand
Everybody
name.
in Ireland knows the black stuff. And fantastic. So what's the future? I don't want to rush into the future because it's such a brilliant story. Now you've started underarm deodorant. Is that what you said?
Yeah, so it took me about a year, I'd say 18 months ago, we launched our deodorant, and that's been brilliant.
And is that a stick deodorant or a spray?
Yeah, it's a stick deodorant. It's 100% natural, made from wax and oils and essential oils. And we use magnesium as our active ingredient, so that's milk of magnesia. So the way our deodorant works is we fight the root cause of BO, which is your sweat doesn't actually smell. It's the bacteria that thrive in a sweaty environment that stink. So what we do is we create a very slightly alkali environment in your armpit, which makes it impossible for bacteria to survive. and therefore he smells fresh all day long.
And 3 or 4 years ago, you would never have known any of the above, would you? I love that. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
And what other, the overarching brand name is the Black Stuff, but you're going to go, I'm looking at Dogs Bay Beach. I know where Dogs Bay is.
Yeah, and that soap is inspired by that. I was there with my family 2 years ago. We were sitting on it. It was a heat wave, and I thought, gosh, this is a great spot. Maybe we could create a product around this.
Will you ship out of here all of the time? I mean, again, it comes back to commercial realities. You could, or you might, have to go abroad and make it there.
So my goal is to always manufacture in Ireland.
I should explain where you're making it as well. You started off, if anybody knows Dublin, the bottom of Buddhiston Avenue must be some of the most expensive real estate in the country to be making soap, I can tell you. But you've just moved into Sandyford Industrial Estate. Is that what you told me?
Yeah, we're moving in this weekend. So, yeah.
And congratulations.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it started in my house. For the first year, it was just me making soap all day, every day.
So your wife loved that.
Yeah, and the house, it started being tidy and, I could keep it to my office, and then it started to overwhelm the house, and then eventually I had to move out, thankfully, and I managed to get a 1-year lease up in Blackrock. I wanted to stay close to home, and I hired an old friend, and we grew from there.
So the future, what is the plan?
So the plan is to continue growing. I need to, because it's an expensive lease I've just signed. But I'm
kids
confident.
Are growing.
Yeah, I'm confident we will. I alluded to us hopefully making about 500,000 bars of soap in the next 12 months, and I'm confident we will. And we may even exceed those targets. So the goal for the future is to just build a brand that lasts the test of time. I'm not trying to build something to make a quick buck or to flip it or to sell to somebody else. I've never raised any money for this business. I've self-funded the entire thing. It's been profitable since day one, albeit we reinvest all our profits into, stock and growth. But the plan here is just to create a business that, hires people and employs people and, puts great products out into the world.
I think it's fantastic. You do know that we are connected with the Connecticut Business grouping in the Ireland Connecticut Business Council. And there's a guy there from County called Tony Sheridan, and he is just about to open his new exhibition centre, and he's looking for products from Ireland to stick in there. So I'm going to connect you with Tony Sheridan, and you can have your Black Stuff sitting there, and you'll have Black Stuff in there before another beer of the same name or same would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, thanks very much.
And world domination, cool. You do have to answer one final question for us is, what would you, John Larkin, who would you hire in a heartbeat?
Great question. And I thought long and hard about this one.
Good.
To give me a little bit of a heads up that it was coming. And I decided...
We tend to do that, but people don't tend to read the email, which always frustrating.
And so, I decided that the person I would hire in a heartbeat is one of my heroes, similar age to myself, is Mr. Brian O'Driscoll.
Okay, he'd be a good start, all right, yeah.
He has incredibly fast hands, so I figured he would be quite the dab at stirring and mixing a bowl of soap. So if all else failed, he could become a great soap maker. But it'd be more for his into the IRFU and Leinster Rugby, who I would love to see maybe just using my product to begin with.
Well, we'll see if we can make a connection into the IRFU. I know one or two people there, including the co-founder of this podcast is a young man called Jamie Heaslip. Jamie, he never smelt, so he always smelt very well. So maybe
he's very dapper.
Very dapper. That's a nice term for him. And I think he's kind of fond of that, or that look and that. Yeah. So, I know Jamie, and I will pass some soap on to Jamie for you.
That'd be great. Yeah,
take it from there.
Thanks very much.
That is wonderful. That's a great story. Please come back to us and tell us how you get on. And another shout out, of course, to Parcel Planet and Mark Green for introducing me to you. And we'll hear more about the great Black Stuff journey in the future. Thanks so much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Done Deal Motors is home to Ireland's largest range of new and premium used cars. That's why you'll find cars from Audi and BMW dealerships on Done Deal. Are you looking for a 7-seater to accommodate your growing family? Maybe you're after a luxury saloon to make a statement. We have the car for you. You'll also find Ireland's largest range of electric cars to help you make the switch. Visit donedeal.ie today to start the search for your next car.
All That Great Business Show advertisers are Team GBS approved. Back them.
We are the podcast of opportunities, and this week we're looking to South Africa. With near full employment in the Irish market, I'm hearing of many Irish businesses who are looking at cities like Cape Town and Durban to find talent in sectors like IT and accountancy. to keep their Irish and international businesses growing. Being English speaking is one of the great attractions. Then the country is almost in the same time zone as Ireland. And of course, they have a fabulous climate, which always helps. Anthony Tattan has spent more than a quarter of a century working in sales and marketing. Having worked in telecoms in South Africa, he established a business in South Africa to help your business successfully establish there. Anthony Tattan, welcome to That Great Business Show.
Thank you.
Tell me all about the wonders of South Africa. 60 million people, not a great economy, but opportunities abound, correct?
Lots of opportunity. Yeah. It's an amazing place. First time there was back in 2018. That was my first business trip to South Africa, and totally fell in love with the place. Day one, you're flying in, and around you, just these amazing mountains, and what a great country, the scenery, the whole lot. But it's just a fantastic place.
Did you want to see the TV series I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here from South Africa?
I'm aware of it, but I didn't watch it.
Well, I did, and you know what? It undersold what is one of the most beautiful countries in the world.
You think so, yeah?
It is stunning.
Yeah.
And if you happen to have a business down there, well, of course, you'd have to be in a stunning country.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What kind of businesses should be talking to you with a view to setting up business down there?
Very much so. Anybody in the tech, software, IT, also professional services, accounting. Yeah, for sure. Anybody that can work remotely since the COVID experience, companies have started to adopt the remote working on an international scale. So with South Africa having a plus 1 hour time difference, it really makes sense. So if anything, those tech support, customer service guys can be online even an hour before their Irish colleagues. So
what are the attractions in terms of financials, as in it is a very good value place to be doing business, isn't it?
Yeah, everything's roughly half the price of what it is here. So the dream ticket, I suppose, for an Irish company is employing the staff locally in South Africa as opposed to bringing them here. Once you bring them here, you're going to have to pay them the going rate in euros. So that, I suppose, was the driving force, the vision, if you like, or the seed was sown for me when we were down there in 2019, trying to set up a business, sister company for a company that I worked for previously for the last 10 years. And the challenges of recruiting and setting up bank accounts and setting up the legal documentation around a company formation and all that kind of stuff from here is quite difficult. But the obvious opportunities of actually having staff, there's an abundance of staff available down there, as you said yourself, 60 million and a lot of unemployed, highly educated people as well. So that was where the idea came from last year. Previously, I was involved with a friend of ours, Frank Gormley, and the guys in Biza, and I worked quite closely with all the guys. And that's a great network for Irish businesses who are already in South Africa.
And particularly Cape Town, isn't that right?
Particularly Cape Town.
Yeah.
Again, Frank and the team in Cape Town are they're a force to be reckoned with, and they're doing great things. What I saw here in Ireland was not even a missed opportunity, but a gap. So from our experience, my previous company, if there was a company here in Ireland that could have done the legwork for us, we would have happily paid them to do so, to do the company formation, to do the screening of the staff and shortlist them all down for us, find us serviced offices to use as a kind of a PO box or whatever the case may be. So that's where business in South Africa came from. That's where the concept spun out of. And that's the service that we offer, is that we can do the company formation. We charge a small consultancy fee and we pass on all the costs from the local service providers in South Africa. But
every country has its issues, its problems or whatever in business. So it can't be just pure plain sailing in South Africa. What are the issues?
The big issue down there for them at the moment, apart from the exchange rate, which is very favourable for Ireland at the moment.
And that is good for anybody going in because you can either buy or rent premises
absolutely
at very, very attractive rates. Roughly speaking, per square metre, square foot, any ideas as to...
No, not off the top of my head, but it changes location to location. So you'd get far better rates in Durban, for example, than you would in the business district in Cape Town.
But it's because it's value and availability, but it's still all good and it's cheaper than here.
Very much so.
Okay, so what are the other problems that you'd face down there?
I'm sure everybody's aware of the power issue.
Maybe not, actually. I am, because I know a lot of people down there. But to explain what's going on there.
They have an experience called load shedding that happens every day, and it goes up and down, that they have a shortage of power from their power stations and their plants and whatever. So the local grid has a shortage. So they basically turn it off in different districts and different regions for it could be a 2-hour period.
Well, that is not great. For example, if you're in the IT business and your IT goes down for 2 hours.
This has been going on for, years, and any company worth its salt has already put in place generators. So they have their workarounds. Any of the companies that we're working with down there for BPO, which is outsourcing. So for an Irish company that maybe doesn't want to form a sister company in South Africa, but they do want maybe 10 customer service people, we use an outsourcing firm, one of many that we have access to, and they will deploy 10 people for an Irish client and invoice them every month. And they would basically become part of your workforce, but they're working remotely in South Africa. We all had the experience of, ringing up Aircom or any of the big service providers here, and lo and behold, it's not somebody in the country that's answering the phone. It's somebody in the Philippines or India or whatever. So actually, South Africa has been voted the number one most favoured outsourcing location in 2021. So that's ahead of the Philippines, ahead of India. I mean, you only need to speak to any South African and the accent is great. English is their first language. They're well educated. So any of those big BPO companies, any of those outsourcing firms, any tech company worth its salt will have their own generations and their generators and their backups and everything in place. So,
and what about the companies, businesses going into South Africa? Any obstacles? Do they want us there? Do we get visas? What are taxes? What are the other charges?
Yeah, look, it's not dissimilar to what it is here. All the rates are much similar enough to what they are here, and things change. But do they want us there? Absolutely. I mean, we're going to create employment, and they have a huge unemployment rate, so that's a no-brainer. And
I did have the South African ambassador on the podcast previously, and she was very keen for us to go down there.
Yes.
But I'm getting it now from this side that you are actually establishing companies down there for Irish companies.
Absolutely. Well, we work very closely with Ambassador Maya and her team at the embassy, and she's got great energy and enthusiasm. And
lovely lady.
Yes, yeah. We actually had an event this day last week in Trinity Business School, and I was on a panel of speakers, including Ambassador Maya and people from Enterprise Ireland, entrepreneurs from Kenya. So it was all about Invest in Africa. And we had an event the night before at the embassy residence that Ambassador Maya was gracious enough to host. And we had a really nice evening, and the delegates from Stellenbosch Business School all came up, and there's real energy. It's not just what I'm doing or the embassy's doing or Frank and the Visa team in South Africa are doing. We're all part of the same team, all trying to drive business opportunities, investment and recruitment in South Africa, not just here in Ireland, but actually down there. So yes, it's easy to bring highly educated, degree level employees up from South Africa and employ them here. But why not also look at doing it the other way around and hiring them down there and giving them the security and the opportunities and creating revenue into the country?
And I can vouch for some of that myself, because a friend, Dave Kerr, who has his company VBT, which is based in Wicklow, he has 18, I think, people working for him now down in Durban.
18 and counting. Growing. Yes, yeah. Dave was actually at the event at the embassy on Sunday evening, and then on Monday he couldn't come to the Trinity Business School because he was on a flight down.
Which is a bit of a problem, because there are no direct flights.
Yeah, don't get me started on that one.
Okay, but I presume it's hen egg. If there's enough demand, they'll put on the flights. Yeah. If there are direct flights out of London?
Absolutely.
Okay, and how long does it take to get down there? 10 hours or something? A
bit more than that, but yeah, like the last few times we've actually gone Turkish Airlines, which are very good. So it's
how long is the trip? Dublin to
Istanbul? Well, you're going into Istanbul, and that's about 4.5, and then 10 hours from there.
Okay, so it's actually a bit of a distance.
Yes.
So if you are going down there, you've got to make a bit of a trip out of it.
Yeah, look, you're not going to go for a weekend unless you're an avid Munster rugby supporter. We got to give them a plug. Fair play to them. I was delighted for them. But actually watched the match in a pub here in Dublin. With my wife is actually from Cape Town. We met while I was there on business in 2019, and her parents flew in for the weekend. So I sat with the three South Africans who were cheering on the Stormers. And even though I'm a Munster or a Leinster man, I'm kind of quietly cheering on Munster. So very happy for them. But yeah, look, a direct flight I think is about 11, 12 hours from Heathrow, and surely we could do the same. You know, I'd love to have a chat with Aer Lingus and find out what kind of numbers we're really talking about, because definitely with the rugby, the flights back and forth between the Irish provinces and
with the URC.
With the URC, yeah, that's definitely shining a light on it. Those guys are having to do the same trip we're having to do, yeah.
What is the view of your standard guy in South Africa about people like Dave and or Frank or you going down there? Are they welcoming you with open arms?
Very much so. Look, what I find dealing with South African business people is they're a little bit like ourselves, actually a lot like ourselves. If you put the time in and show them that you're there for the long haul, you're not just here as a one-off and hoping to make a quick buck. When I was there in 2018 originally, and then I had a bunch of trips back and forth in 2019. I think I was in South Africa more than I was in Ireland. Each time I was there for 3 or 4 weeks at a time, and I would arrive to a meeting and the guys would be like, this guy's back again. You know, it's like, are you living here? And I'm like, no, well, kind of when I'm in town, you know, and you see the smile on their face after a while because they're getting used to you. And it's like, yeah, this guy's going to be sticking around. We can do business with this guy. Their values are very much the same as ours. If you're willing to put the effort in and work with them, they're not working for you, but they're working with you.
Now, you mentioned IT. You mentioned any kind of outsourcing. You mentioned accountancy.
Yeah, for sure. Bookkeeping, absolutely. But look, there are some big success stories. Kerry Group are down there. They're doing great things. There's lots of Irish companies, but for sure, the kind of companies that I'm working with in particular are the MSPs, the IT companies.
MSP is that?
Managed service provider.
Thank you. So we don't do acronyms here. No. That's just cost you €20 or 200 Rand or something.
It's a bit more than that. Yeah.
And that's another thing, of course. The cost of living when you get down there, I gather, is phenomenally great. Plus the standard of food, wine, whatever you want. Yeah. Excellent.
You know something, it's become noticeable here in Ireland with the hospitality sector. It's getting a little bit lazy. It really is. You're seeing it in the service and the standards. And you go down there and wow, the experience is next level. So yeah, for sure. Once you get there, look, the flights are long. They're expensive. They're probably the most expensive part of it. But once you're there, everything is roughly half the price. And
would that go for accommodation as well? Because if you mentioned that you're there for 3, 4, 5 weeks, that's that's another cost, a real cost.
Yeah, it is. But again, it's a fraction. And they have some fantastic hospitality, great hotels, restaurants, and there's even the odd Irish bar.
Size of company that would be ideal for you for your business that you want to attract. Like I mentioned Dave Kerr there. I think he started off with just a handful of fellas, first of all.
Yeah, well, Dave's up to about 50 staff here in Ireland. I know Dave well. We're both in Greystones. We both live in Greystones. And Dave would have been one of my agents for the services that I did previously. And he dipped the toe in the water and had a great experience. And he's now, that's a real litmus test, if you think about it, that his Irish customers, he's an IT company, the buck stops with him if standards drop. And so the second line, front line guys dealing with the tech support tickets, you log a ticket, you've got a problem, and those guys are answering those tickets, and Dave is very happy, and that's why he's up to 18 and I think looking to get up to around 40 staff in Durban in the next 12 to 18 months. So that's a signal of what's going on, yeah.
Now, you did mention that your wife is from Cape Town, so I'm going to ask you a very difficult question. Oh. Of all of your children, i.e. which of the cities in South Africa, which one would you recommend, or which ones would you recommend people to head for? Dave Kerr is in Durban. Frank Gormley is in Cape Town. Yeah. Where would you go? Yeah, for sure. Look, my heart is Cape Town, but that's where, we originally set up. It's where base camp was for me. And when I'm there, it's like, you're walking through the waterfront area. It's like walking through, Grafton Street. You feel like you're in your own city. But that's me. I know Dave, his major soft spot is Durban. A lot of businesses in Joburg. Joburg is the biggest business district. So if you're going down there and you want to really make an impact, and provided you've got a bit of a marketing budget behind you, then yeah. Why the marketing budget? Just because it's a bigger space. It's... you're throwing the same size stone into a much bigger lake. But is that when you are trying to sell your goods or services into South Africa? Because again, the people that I'm talking to are using South Africa as a base to basically to hire skilled workers. Yes. and then ship knowledge back here or worldwide. Are you thinking of selling within South Africa?
Most of the companies that I talk to, their initial focus is we need staff. We can't get them here. And if you think, for me, knowing the tech sector the way I do, having worked in a tech sales, software sales, IT, cloud for 15, 20 years now in total. The biggest problem we've had in Ireland has been staffing. We would have seen 15 years ago, Eastern Europe was a massive resource for us. A lot of the guys that came in from Poland, Romania, Lithuania, Latvia, all these guys, Moldova, they were all skilled IT guys with third level degrees, Microsoft, Cisco qualifications, and they came into Ireland and we sourced them, paid the recruitment agency fees and brought them to Ireland. And yeah, you had to deal with the language gap, but the skills were there. That's now dried up, because all the Irish companies and indeed the UK companies are dipping into that market and it's dried up. So naturally we're looking further afield. And if you look at the large enterprises and what they're doing with their call centers, it's the Philippines, it's India, and now also South Africa. And Amazon have gone in as well. And that's an indication. And Google and all these guys are going in there, and that's the answer.
Well, I will come to our final question in a second, but you better give, since you're kind enough to come in, not quite all the way from Cape Town, but from Blackrock in Dublin, where you're based, you better give a shout out about business in South Africa, where they will find you, what you actually do, what you can do for people. That'll be your ad. We'll call it an ad.
An ad.
And I'll send you an invoice.
I'm sure you will. So businessinSouthAfrica.ie, that's the easiest place, businessinSouthAfrica.ie, and Anthony at businessinSouthAfrica.ie. Just drop me an email and let's have a chat. What we can do is sit down initially and do a bit of a discovery. What are you looking to do? What's driving is it just a curiosity or is there an actual firm requirement? Have you kind of specced it out and thought about it? And then if it's just a case of wanting some staff and a dip the toe in the water like what Dave Kerr did, let's get you a couple of staff that are managed fully by an outsourced company in South Africa. And you just get your invoice every month and they can become part of your team, working remotely, but you're just getting an invoice. And after 6 months, if that's going well and you think, okay, let's do the company formation because it's got other benefits, then we can do that. We've got the lawyers, we've got the accountants, we've got the serviced offices, we've got the recruitment agencies, we've got all of that ready and waiting. And we just charge a small consultancy fee for doing the legwork. As I say, if that type of a service existed for me, from my previous business in 2019, when we were trying to do all that, would have saved us so much time. We got a lot of support from Enterprise Ireland, but again, that piece was missing. So that's what we do. We can help you get the staff quickly and easily just using a resource company. Or if you want to go the whole hog, if you've done your homework and you want to do the company formation, then we have the solicitors and the accountants, everybody ready. And we can do a quick turnaround, get your company formed and then turn on the recruitment.
I did say Anthony worked in sales for 25 years. Final question we ask everybody, who would Anthony Tattan hire in a heartbeat?
Yeah, this one had me thinking about it deeply. On one hand, I think myself 10 years ago with all that energy and drive. But I think, look, we touched on direct flights and Michael O'Leary. You can't look beyond his business acumen and his straight talking, which ruffles a few feathers, but you got to admire it. So him on one hand, yeah, for sure. I think that would be what I'd be looking for in terms of a hire. But also, again, touching on the airlines, there's a lady, she's the CEO, Lynn Embleton at Aer Lingus, and she's the first female CEO in there. So in terms of a hire, Michael O'Leary, in terms of a conversation, I'd love to get the two of them in a room and have a chat with them about those direct flights and let's see what we could do. Yeah.
Well, maybe Lynn might come and work with you as well.
Maybe.
That'd be a nice boardroom now to have those two sitting.
It would, wouldn't it? You'd love to be a fly on the wall.
I have never, and I have not met with Lynn Embleton yet. There's an open invitation to her should she want to come on to the podcast. I would love to meet with her. And yeah, that's cool. So again, South Africa, open for business.
Absolutely, very much so. And as I said, even if you're just mildly curious, get in touch.
And the man to get in touch with is Anthony Tattan. His business in South Africa. Great name. It does what it says in the tin, etc. Anthony, thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Done Deal Motors is home to Ireland's largest range of new and premium used cars. That's why you'll find cars from Audi and BMW dealerships on Done Deal. Are you looking for a 7-seater to accommodate your growing family? Maybe you're after a luxury saloon to make a statement. We have the car for you. You'll also find Ireland's largest range of electric cars to help you make the switch. Visit donedeal.ie today to start the search for your next car.
De facto shaving oil, the world's best shaving oil. Made in Mayo, sold worldwide. It's all go, le cuirsaí gno, on thatgreatbusinessshow.com. That Great Business Show.
And that's it from That Great Business Show, episode 142. Great business insights and inspiration, all thanks to our sponsor, donedeal.ie, the only place to find your next car, new or second-hand. Sign up to our email updates at thatgreatbusinessshow.com and we will send you the latest news as well as your own personal copy of the podcast that you can then send to all of your pals. Show them that you really, really, really know your business. And of course, if you want to advertise with us, go straight onto the website. We record at the Dublin South Podcast Studios where Lee, only the real black stuff for me, Brennan, is today's sound engineer. Engineer Supreme Peter Rice will add his magic later, making us the best sound around. So for me, Conal O'Moran, buchas to you all agus slán tamil.